are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio, man. We are here once again. And today, man, we have another amazing show for y'all today. Man, we're going to talk to a music artist, producer, songwriter, musician, Kell Bailey, and he has a new album that we're going to be talking about, Evidence. And first and foremost, man, I want to welcome you, Kell, to the show. So how you doing, man?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for interviewing me today.
Man, I know you're busy. I appreciate your time, man, because we got to get your backstory because you were also had a strong passion for sports, playing football. So before we talk about your music, man, kind of give the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, sir. So my name is Kell Bailey. I am from Richmond, Virginia. Grew up here basically all my life. I grew up actually in church. My parents, they had me at church from a young age. I was always, intrigued by music, and I was like the kid on the front row watching the drummer, watching everything that he did. And I always just, was fascinated by music. But I also had a strong passion for football as well. When I was super, super young, my parents will tell you, like, I always just was saying, like, I want to go to the NFL. Like, that's what I want to do. Like, football was the only thing on my mind. Like, I love music. But fast forward, long story short, later on, continued to play football through like middle school and stuff like that. And then coming up about to go into high school, I wasn't like feeling the greatest body wise. I knew something was off, but, I went to the doctor. Long story short, they was like, hey, you have a large heart. And from that moment on, I started to get healthy and stuff like that. And I got better. They did clear me to play, but I wasn't necessarily comfortable getting back on the field. So in that moment, I was like, all right, if football probably isn't going to be my route, I want to give all of my energy into music. Like, because at that moment, I had just really started playing keys and drums and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, football probably ain't gonna be my route. Let me just give all my energy to, music. So I started just really focusing on my craft, hopping on YouTube, learning as much as I could. And fast forward to now, like a couple of years from there, I started writing music and producing music. And there was just a strong passion for, I guess, like producing music and writing it and releasing it to the world. I released my first song in like 2017. That actually came down from like musical outlets. I had to redo some things, but yeah, like I noticed how I felt when I released music, and I was like, that's a feeling that I want to continue to feel. And yeah, so from there, I just kept on writing and producing music and started releasing it as an artist. So yeah, that's some of my story, but that's what I'll share right now.
And with that challenge that you face when you discovered that situation with the sports world and you started to focus on music, you did play keyboard at Calvary Outreach Revival Center. Kind of tell me how that experience contributed to your musical journey.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, so that's the church that I was basically born and raised in. That's the church that I remember, growing up in or whatever. But yeah, so the guys that I went to church with at Calvary Outreach, in my opinion, they were some of the best in the area. You got people like Brandon Taylor, Adrian, he played bass. It was a guy there named Lee. That was a type of church where all of the best musicians would come through anytime throughout the year and just play. So that was the church where I got to really see, how it was done music wise. And I learned a lot from those guys growing up. Of course, there was times me learning and trying to grow. I got kicked off the keys, but stuff like that actually helped me grow as a musician. And it showed me that, the bar isn't down here. The bar is actually much higher. So that was a church, again, I learned a lot there, and I'm grateful for the people that was around me in that church that allowed me to grow, because it definitely helped me grow as a musician early on. So, yeah.
And also another thing that happened early on was you had an opportunity to be invited at University of Virginia Gospel Choir, and you were able to play for them. What was that experience and how did that happen?
Yes, sir. So that was a gospel choir, University of Virginia. Their name was Black Voices. So yeah, so I'm like 15. I'm sophomore in high school. Some of my homies at the time, Michael Jeter and Derek, they was playing for the gospel choir, and I was the young up and coming guy. And it was like, hey, we want to give you a shot to, you know, play for the University of Virginia Gospel Choir. At the time, I was super excited because that was probably like one of my biggest opportunities at the moment. So weekly, every Thursday, we would travel up to Charlottesville, Virginia, from Richmond. So that's about an hour and a half drive. And we would go up there every week and just rehearse with the gospel choir. And I learned a lot in that moment. I really learned how to play, I guess, like choir music. And it just helped me become more well-rounded as a musician going up there weekly. And also, I thought it was kind of cool, too, to just, leave home every week and, go to the University of Virginia, be around college students and stuff like that weekly. So that was a fun experience for me.
Once again, talking to Kell Bailey here on Refocus Radio, and you had some early success. Your debut EP, Take Your Place, it reached number 9 on the gospel iTunes charts. How was that feeling like for you, and what was the process as far as your next move?
Yeah, so number 9, 2019. Yep, that's what happened. Take Your Place. For me, it was kind of mind-blowing. I know a lot of people don't always pay attention to the iTunes charts, but for me at the time, to be an independent artist, up and coming, like I had a following on social media. At that time, I probably like maybe had like 4,000 followers, something like that. But to be able to make it in that top 10 week 1 on the iTunes gospel charts, to me, that was kind of like mind-blowing. It just showed me that, people actually care about what I do, and some people were following me, and it felt great to have early success like that with your first EP. I'm talking with like no label, no backing, just a vision that God gave me to do, and I followed His voice, and that was the fruit of it.
And in 2020, you had an album, Freedom Is Here, that reached number 14 on the gospel iTunes charts. I mean, you're starting to be a regular artist, get on the charts, man. So were you surprised by your achievements, or was this kind of expected?
On one hand, it's like you always hope for the best. You always hope that you can make leave a mark like that when you release music. So on one end, it's like, all right, I'm shocked that it actually happened, what you hope for. And then on the other hand, it's kind of like that feeling of, like I worked hard for this. Like I invested my own money. Like I deserve this. So it's kind of like that balance of, you work hard, and then the other end, it's I hope that will happen. So, yeah.
And with your latest album, brings us to the album Evidence. What was this one like? Because you, as an artist, you have seen your growth over time. What makes this project more special? Or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what makes this project more different?
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. Like one of the things I have been saying, and I have been hyping up this project, like I've been saying, this is my best work yet. What makes it more unique and special, I would say my EP and my album, I was still kind of figuring things out, testing out like, all right, let me see if my audience likes songs like this. I'll add this in here. And, I'm just going to see, I'm going to put this together and see how people respond and see if they like it. This time around, I was able to use the experience from the EP and the album and take all of the data that I learned from my audience and put it into one project. And I feel like this album is much more well-rounded, put together overall. And I feel like it's going to flow much better. Not to say that my Freedom Is Here album didn't flow very well, but I think this one is just going to be like, if you listen to Freedom Is Here and then you listen to this Evidence album, you're going to be like, all right, there's a big difference and there's growth here. And that's all that you can really hope for anytime you're releasing music in the way that I'm releasing it. Each time you want to see growth and you want to hear something different, and and be like, oh, this person's been sitting with their craft. Like they actually care about what they do. So one of the things that I also tell myself is I'm not really competing with no one. I'm really just trying to outdo myself. So like the long nights of grinding hard and working hard is me trying to outdo myself less. I'm not really, looking outwardly saying who can I be better than. It's like, it's that drive of, just trying to compete with myself. So
once again, talking to Kell Bailey here on Refocus Radio. You go visit his website, mkbaileymusic.com, and also get his latest album, Evidence. And with that, music, I mean, it's a powerful tool for your legacy, for your platform. How has your faith influenced your music and what you are trying to do for your community?
Yeah, so my faith is the basis of what I do. Of course, this is gospel Christian music. We're singing about Jesus. So that's literally my sole influence. Not to say that I'm not inspired and influenced by other things, but again, this is gospel music. So one of the reasons why I decided to even start releasing music, I believe God did speak to me clearly and wanted me to release this music into the earth. And one of the things that pushes me, if my impact is 100,000 people, I'm fine with that. If my impact is only 10 people, if God told me to do it, I'm okay with, taking that risk. And I don't necessarily get to decide, how big that impact is. It's just my job to be obedient. So me just following God's voice and putting back into the earth what he's given me is very, very important to me. I think oftentimes God gives people gifts, and far too often we hold on to those gifts and we go to the grave with $1 million ideas, with things that God gave us, and we're scared to release it. But, even if someone's listening out there, don't be afraid to release what God has given you, because there is fruit in the thing that God has placed inside of you. Don't just hold on to the seeds, like put them out there and watch them grow and bloom. So yeah, like I'm just being obedient to what God told me to do. And one of the things I often say is, as long as God has me in the season to release music, I want to be obedient and walk in that purpose.
And as a gospel artist, how do you see yourself navigating through a more secular music industry, and what are some of your strategies or principles that you rely on to stay true to your sound and your calling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, navigating. I mean, for me, of course, you want to be relevant to, people who maybe don't even listen to gospel music, but I'm okay with, my sound being specifically for gospel music. And maybe some of my strategies that I'm working on to try to appeal to a larger audience. Is that kind of what you're asking in terms of secular?
Yeah, some of the challenges you face being in a secular music industry, you still trying to stay true to your art, but at the same time, you're still trying to get your music heard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe some of the challenges that I've seen is, you focus really, really hard on the product itself, and then you have to figure out a way to market your music. So sometimes I may have to cast a wide net, so to speak. So I'm posting on YouTube, I'm posting on Instagram, I'm using all of my social medias to really try to convey, hey, go get my project, stuff like that. And this go around, I reached out to MTS Management, and they are really helping me push this album. So I would say maybe just the marketing, trying to get creative and figure out how to market this project can be a challenge, just because, as we all know, like the gospel industry is only a small portion of the world. As big as artists is like Kurt Franklin, there's someone somewhere in the world that doesn't know who Kurt Franklin is yet. We name a artist like Kanye West, everyone's going to know who Kanye West is. So I say that to say figuring out how to market gospel music can be a challenge, but using all of my resources is how I find myself navigating that and, overcoming that.
And as a professional in the music industry, do you also offer services for other music professionals? And if so, how does that play a role with your platform?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do offer production as well, because I am a producer, songwriter, arranger, artist. I do offer production for other artists. And that plays a role with just, really getting my name out there. One of the things I've been working on heavy on YouTube is breaking down gospel production and showing people how to produce gospel music. And in turn, people have been hitting me up like, hey, I got this song. I want you to produce it. Can we collaborate? Stuff like that. And of course, I have my prices and stuff like that. And if people are willing to pay that, then that's, let's work. Let's do it. As long as I believe in the song that you have, I'm open to collaborations and productions like that.
What advice would you have to other music professionals out there who maybe been focusing on other genres, but they might be interested in learning how to produce in the gospel genre?
I would say, one, do what you're passionate about. I know that there's a lot of people that most musicians, most producers, I would say 80, 90% of the time they grew up in church. I would say, don't feel like you have to follow gospel music because that's what your faith is in. I think God can use you in different spaces with the gift that he has given you, as long as you're bringing glory to his name and not getting caught up in the mess in the other spaces, if that makes sense. Because I think there is a need for light in this dark world, and everyone can't produce gospel music, because some of that light needs to go out into the world, into the dark spaces. But the advice for someone who's like, hey, maybe I do R&B music, but I'm intrigued with gospel music. The best way to get to learn gospel music is, one, listening to gospel music. Two, go on my YouTube. There's a lot of videos of me breaking down gospel music and how it works, and just really get immersed with gospel production. Figure out as many ways as you can as possible to really learn the genre and the language of gospel music. And I think, you'll be fine in terms of learning it.
And when it comes to like your personal faith, how do you maintain that focus? Okay, I got to build my career, I have to get paid for my services, but at the same time, stay true to like your roots of your faith.
Yes. I think that's one of the balances that I'm even constantly working on in this season. One of the things I learned with doing my Take Your Place EP, that's what's the name of it, is you can be doing something that God told you to do, and God purposed you to do that. But in the grind of doing what God told you to do, you can miss him in the process. So one of the things that I learned is, I think it's important to keep God at the center of everything that you do, and realize that you're doing this for God. And for me, what that looks like is just, one of the things I've been doing lately is just going on walks on my lunch break and having the Bible app playing, and just having scriptures feed my spirit, and getting creative with my prayer time. Like I may not always have time to maybe pray at night or pray in the morning, but I find ways to pray in the car or pray on my walks, or before I go to the gym in the morning, I'm praying on my way in the gym, or just ways like that. So I think it's just really, really important with all of your dreams and aspirations to keep God at the center, focused on the main thing, which is Christ, and not miss Christ in the process of chasing your dreams. So yeah, that's one of my tips.
Once again, talking to Kell Bailey, and you can get his album Evidence. You can pre-order right now, but it's going to be released on May 26th.
Yes, May 26th. It will be available everywhere you listen to music, iTunes, Spotify, all the other ones as well. I can't think of the other outlets, but it's going to be everywhere, YouTube, all that.
And the last question I have for you is, those who, love music, appreciate music, what do you hope that they can appreciate while they listen to your new album?
Yes, sir. One of the things I want to really, really do is just inspire others. I believe that God has placed me on this journey to inspire others. I'm just a kid following what God told me to do. And when you listen to this album, I hope that one, that you see like that God can use literally anyone to do his will. And number two, I hope that other musicians and other creatives will be inspired by the sounds and the lyrics of this record. There's a lot of musicality on here, and I hope that someone will walk away saying like, hey, because you did this, like I want to do an album now, and I want to follow your process and follow you as a artist, as a producer. Like I'm a fan now. Like, so yeah, like I want people just to appreciate my work and everything that I'm putting into this album, and hopefully my heart is heard on this album when, you know, people hear it.
Once again, talking to Kell Bailey. You can go visit his website. It's mkbaileymusic.com. And don't forget, you got to go get his album, Evidence. It is available for pre-order. And you also can get it when it is released on May 26th. And man, once again, say thanks to you, Kell Bailey, for taking time talking to us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be a part of this podcast. So thank you.